statistical averages. So all along, right, the entire world is talking about data analysis. Data scientists are in great demand all over the world. So what is the foundation for all these things? We do predictive modeling, we train the data, we plot the data, we do lots of things with the data, right? So data analysis forms, it's basically the data science is ruling the world now. AI, ML, neural networks, everything is based on that humongous data. How do you train the data? How do you plot the data and all that? The foundation for this, for all this, is nothing but the statistical averages, inferring from the charts and all that. That data interpretation is the foundation for all these things. Whatever we learned in grade 9, 10, and so on, right? Just look at the histogram, infer the data, and understand and write down what you infer from the data. Look at the bar chart, infer what you have understood. And then look at a circle graph, look at a pie chart, look at a line graph, and infer from the data. So these are the skills that you develop when you prepare for your GRE Quant. Right? GRE Quant is a skill-based test. It's not a memory-based test. You don't have to by heart any formulae for GRE Quant. Very, very basic formulae that is required for very basic formulae only it's applied here. Right? There's no like complicated formula, no advanced calculus, nothing is tested in GRE Quant. So no trigonometry also. Very, very basic stuff, whatever you learn till your grade 10. That is all is tested in GRE Quant. So part of it is the statistical averages. So when we talk about averages, we normally talk about, right, data analysis, as I told you, charts and statistics. Statistics, when we talk about statistics will have mean, median, and mode. So these are the three measures of, we call them as measures of central tendency. Apart from that, there'll be several measures like your range, standard deviation, and so on. Mean, median, and mode. If you look at it, so when we talk about averages in schools and all, we will say that the average mark of a student, the class, average class mark is like 25 out of, say, about 30 or something like that, which means most of the students have got around that 25 marks, so the class average is 25. That is how we normally talk about in terms of marks, right? We calculate the mean when we talk about averages. Average, instinctively, students tend to associate average with arithmetic mean. When we talk about arithmetic mean, it's associated with averages. But that's a myth. Average could mean mean, arithmetic mean, or it could be the median, or it could be the mode. It depends on the context. For example, if you're all college students, right? When you go for MS and all that, in the universities, every university would give us statistics of the number of students who are placed in jobs, right? When they give that, right, to market their colleges or to say that this course is very, very preferred or has greater placements in our college and all that, if they want to show that, they would normally say that the median income of students taking this particular course is so and so. So when they talk about averages in the context of income, they refer to in terms of median. So as I told you, the mean, median, and mode, the averages, the term averages could refer to mean, or it could refer to median, or it could refer to mode, depending on the context. So for example, if you live in a gated community, there'll be like people from different backgrounds, right? A mixture of people will be there. That could be a janitor, that could be a cleaner, there could be a businessman also, there could be a doctor, there could be a software engineer. So a person coming enter into the gated community would say, what is the average income of people living in this community? If you take the mean of that, then that will definitely not represent the population inside that community, right? So because there'll be like several outliers. If you look at the person who is a janitor and all that, they would get an income of say 5,000 per month. But if you look at software engineer, they would get a 1 lakh per month. A businessman, it could be even 1 crore per turnover he would get per month, right? So there'll be like lots of variation in the income of people living in a particular community. So in that case, whenever there is an outlier like this, right, so much variation and they are not cluttered around a single point, then it is effective to talk in terms of median rather than in terms of mean. So that is where this concept of median is brought into picture. So these are all very important. It's very, very important to understand the concepts when you crack a competitive exam like GRE, because GRE, again repeating, it's a skill-based test. So just understand, just by hearting the formula saying that median is the middlemost value, that's not going to help you at all. Because you're all going to taking your GRE to do your research, and then end of the day, you want to end up into a job, right? So job means you have to understand where this median comes into play. median income and all that, you should be able to relate to the meaning of that median. Conceptual meaning of median is very, very important, which unfortunately it's not taught in middle school or high school when we are introduced to median. So mathematically, it is the middlemost value. It divides the data set into two equal halves. That's all perfect. But what is median? Median is representative of the entire data set. When is it applied? When you have a random data set, right? Where like several outliers are there. Like it's not cluttered around some points, or you cannot group them. When you have clusters that are varying, right? In that case, median comes into play very effectively. And mode, of course, when there's repeated points, repeated elements in a data set, right? Repeated numbers in a data set, that which is repeated maximum number of times, that's called as mode. So where is mode used? Productivity. For example, suppose you have a shoe shop or a bag shop, something like that, and you feel a particular brand of shoes is like sold more. They would look at the frequency at which a particular brand of shoes is sold. And based on that, if the frequency of that shoes is higher, they would start manufacturing that shoes more, right? So in those contexts, mode is used. So as I told you, this averages could refer to mean, median, or mode depending on the context. Now here in GRE, it is all conceptual based questions. If you look at it, you need to understand the concept well to apply that in mean, median, mode questions. And of course, range and standard deviation. What is range? Range is the difference between the maximum value and minimum value. So I would like to pose a question to all of you. Anybody, you can answer it in the chat box. Can range be 0? Can somebody answer this? Can range take the value 0? You could post it in the chat box. Hello? Am I audible?
Audible.
You could all post it in the chat box. Can range be 0? Anybody? No. Okay. Suppose I have a data set, right, with the same elements. I could have just say a simple data set. Set A is equal to 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. Won't that range be 0? Mohilan says yes. Samat says yes, it can be. It can be 0 provided you don't have distinct elements. But what is the purpose of finding that range? Range is to get you, what do I say? When you say range, right, a range of values, that should be some gradation here. So when you have the same elements in the data set, practically speaking, in reality, the range will not be 0, because when you talk about range in reality, practically speaking, you are looking at a data set which has got different values. That is when the concept of range makes sense. But mathematically, range can be 0 when you have same elements in the data set. Can range be negative? Can you all answer that? Can range be negative? Anybody? Mean can be negative, depends on the data set. Median also can be negative, depends on the data set. Again, can range be negative? Anybody? Whelan says no. Ramina says no. Anybody else? Range has to be a positive number. Yes, of course. Mohammed says yes. Okay, fine. Suppose you have a data set, say, I have a data set -1, -2, 0, 1, 2. The range would be 2 minus of -1, 2 minus of -2, which has to be 4. So whatever be the data set, could be a mixture of negative and positive integers. Mathematically, it could be only negative integers or negative fractions. Whatever be the case, range can never be negative. You do it mathematically, you will know that it is the difference between the maximum and the minimum value. So whatever be the elements in the data set, it could be a negative number, positive number, whatever be the case, range can never be negative. No, if the data given has negative values, still it will never be negative. I'll give you an example, Hasan. Suppose you have a data set, say, which has got only negative values, -1, -1, -2, -3, -4. What is the range of the data set? It is the maximum value minus the minimum value, difference between the maximum value and the minimum value. Maximum value is -1, minimum value is -4. It's -1 minus of -4. That will give you -1 plus 4, which has to be 3, right? Still it will be positive. Got it? So even if the data set has got only negative values, range will still be positive. So no matter what the data set is, range will be positive. Clear? So concept, understand the concept first to apply it easily. Now, coming to standard deviation, I hope I'm clear, Hasan. Did you understand that Y range can be positive? Yeah. Now, coming to standard deviation, what is standard deviation? So we have all heard of this in terms of formulae, right? So when you went to your grade 10 or grade 11, you would have learned that standard deviation, nothing but sigma x minus x bar the whole square by n. So many complicated sigma f times x minus x bar the whole square by sigma f. That is all not being used in GRE. We will not use any such formula because the way the questions are asked with respect to standard deviation would be just to test the concept of standard deviation. What is standard deviation? Deviation from the mean is called as standard deviation. How deviated is the entire data set from the mean? That is what is called as standard deviation. More there is standard deviation, more there is a deviation, there is a greater standard deviation, right? The data set is spread out more. Then which means from the mean it is spread out more, then you will have greater standard deviation. If there is a less spread out, then it will be a lesser standard deviation. That's all. If you add two negative numbers, what will be the result? That's the example that I just gave you, Hasan. Suppose you have -1, -2, -3, -4. Assume that that's a data set, right? The range is maximum value minus minimum value. The maximum value in this case is -1 and the minimum value is -4. What happens? Range is the difference. It's not adding. You don't add two negative numbers. Range is the difference between two numbers. It's a maximum value minus the minimum value. It's difference between the maximum value and the minimum value. Clear? Therefore, it has to be only positive. Got it, Hasan? So when I have this data set -1, -2, -3, -4, the maximum value is -1 and the minimum value is -4. So when you subtract both, what do you get? Maximum value -1 minus of -4, which has to be -1 plus 4, which is equal to 3. Clear? Yeah, good, great. Now, coming back to the standard deviation, meaning of standard deviation, how deviated is every element in the data set from the mean? That's called a standard deviation. So there are a few problems that will make you understand better the meaning of standard deviation, mean, median, and mode. Right. So this is the definition, whatever I just told you. Data as a whole is closer to the mean, smaller standard deviation. Data is further away from the mean, more standard deviation. So the questions on standard deviation will be only based on this concept. That's a graph question that I'm just going to show you. So most of the question will be based on the concept of standard deviation rather than the application of the formula. None of the questions will ask you to apply the formula, though you have an on-screen calculator, but that's not a scientific calculator. It's not a graphing calculator. It's a basic calculator that will be there on screen, right? You will just be able to perform the basic arithmetic operations. Maximum square root, you can do that inside that. Nothing else can be performed in the calculator that's provided to you on screen in GRE. That will still be there, even the GRE enhancements, right? Starting September 22nd, the on-screen calculator facility will still be there, right? So you will not be able to calculate this using the standard deviation function and all that, which means this clearly means GRE is not going to test you with tedious calculations of standard deviation. Now coming here, which of the following is both the mean and median of 7 consecutive integers? The least of those integers is x. Anybody? You can give me the answer here. You can post your answer in the chat box. Which of the following is both the mean and median of 7 consecutive integers? The least of those integers is x. I'll give you 1 minute time. These are all very, very simple questions, could be answered in less than 1 minute. How do you attempt this problem? You can post your answer here. Anybody got the answer? Hello? Which of the following is both the mean and median of 7 consecutive integers? The least of those integers is x. Moilan says B. Anybody else? Samad says B. Okay. X plus 3. Very good. So the answer is B. Option B is the right answer. Okay. Now here, Priya says D is the right answer. D is x plus 28 by 7, x plus 4. Yeah. Okay. For those who have not understood or who have got the wrong answer and who have also taken a lot of time in answering this question, Now, all of us are familiar with numbers, right? We don't want to play around with variables. We would rather use numbers to do such problems, right? Whenever we have variables, whenever you have unknowns in the question, remember this very, very simple strategy. Whenever you have unknowns in the question, replace them with numbers. Here, which of the following is both the mean and median of 7 consecutive integers? The least of those integers is x. Nobody is preventing you from taking x as 1, right? Nobody is stopping you from taking x as 1. So when x is equal to 1, the 7 consecutive integers would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. From that itself, you can easily say what is the mean, what is the median, right? What is the mean of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Hello? What is the mean? Mean has to be 4, right? Mean of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is 4. Median is also 4. So when you start with x is equal to 1, the mean is equal to median is equal to 4. So which is actually x plus 3. That is 1 plus 3 will give you 4. Therefore, the answer is option B. Directly, you can say without playing around with x. If you are confused with x, so some of you have given x plus 5 as answer, some of you have given x plus 4 as answer. So if you are confused with x, best strategy to adopt when you have unknowns in the question is replace them with small numbers. Replace the x by 1. Immediately, you will get the answer as 4, which is 1 plus 3. Therefore, the answer is option B. Clear? So this is one very important strategy you will follow for several problems which will have unknowns in the question. That's the easiest way to approach this problem. And one more very important rule you need to understand here is when will mean be equal to median? This is one concept or rule that you need to know. When the set consists of evenly spaced numbers, it could be 2, 4, 6, 8. Now the difference between two consecutive numbers is 2. Difference between two consecutive numbers is just 1. Like that. If all the members of the set are equal, set has just one number. Please repeat the explanation of that quiz. Okay. Coming back to this, I'm just saying, I'll just give you a strategy here, Hasan. Which of the following is both the mean and the median of 7 consecutive integers? There are 7 consecutive integers, right? Consecutive means the numbers which are next to each other. Now, least of those integers is x. The smallest number among those 7 numbers is given to be x. The question is, what could be the mean? Could it be x plus 3 or x plus? It will still be the same, Aditya. Check it. It's 7 consecutive numbers. Start with x be any number. Make 7 consecutive numbers. Still it will be the same. Yeah. Now coming here, 7 consecutive numbers. Suppose I replace this x by 1, right? What are the 7 consecutive numbers after 1? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You could take your x as 2 also, which means 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 will be the consecutive integers. Suppose you want to take x as 20, you could do that also. 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 26, 27. So take 7 numbers which are next to each other, consecutive numbers. Any 7 consecutive integers you take. So for that, instead of taking with x, I'm just saying replace that x with a small number and proceed. Rather than thinking in terms of x, you can always do that by replacing x by a smaller number, right? So I'm replacing x by 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you know, that is a set. So which means the mean of that set is 4. The median of that set is also 4. What is 4? You started with 1 and you ended up the mean and median as 4, which is 1 plus 3. The smallest number x is 1. Therefore, x plus 3 is the mean and the median, which is the same. Clear? Right? So now coming to the general rule for this, when will mean be equal to median? Hasan, did you understand the explanation? Yeah. Any number of consecutive integers, same mean and median, or only in this case of 7 numbers? Odd number of odd number of elements, Aditya. When you have odd number of elements, check that. You can check it. You can check it yourself. Take consecutive integers, you can play around. When will mean be equal to median? The set consists of evenly spaced numbers. If all the sets of the set are equal, all the members of the set are equal, set has just one number. In case of consecutive integers, a special case of evenly spaced numbers. In all these cases, mean will be equal to median. Clear? That's what we just saw. Next question. The average arithmetic now here. So look at the question, way the question is worded. In GRE, the average, as I told you, could refer to median or it could refer to mode. That is the reason in all GRE questions, they would write within bracket what it refers to. Here, the average refers to arithmetic mean. So in general, average doesn't refer to mean at all. Clear? It depends on the context. So average arithmetic mean, age of 10 persons in a club was 32 years. What should be the age of a new person joining the club if the average age increases by 4 years after including the new person? Try it out. Anybody got the answer? These problems should be solved within 2 minutes or within 1 minute it has to be solved. Anybody got the answer? People say 40, Moilan says 76. Anybody else? Yeah, Mohammed says 76. 76 is the right answer. Okay, I'm not sure how Ramina got 40. Okay, let's look at the answer. Okay. So the average of 10 people in a club is 32. So when you have the average as 32, right? So there are like 10 people in the club. You could always distribute the 32 among the 10 people, right? So the total age would be 320. You could use your mathematical formula as mean is equal to the total of the ages by the number of observations. You could use that and get the total of age of 10 people as 320. Or one way of understanding this problem is, when I say the average of 10 people, the age is 32 years, assume that each person's age is 32 years. Without laws of generality, you can always do it like that also. Right? If each person's age is 32 years, 10 people age would be 320 years. Right? So that is the first step. Total age of 10 people is 320. Now there's a new person joining the club. Right? The average increases by 4 years after including the new person. Assume that the new person's age is X. Now the average is 36. Right? There are 11 people. So their average age is 36. So 36 is being distributed to all people. 36 times 11 is 396. What is the age of new person? You just have to find out what is X, which has to be the difference between the two totals, 396 minus 320, which is equal to 76 years. Clear? Very simple basic problem on mean, where you just either you apply the formula that mean is equal to sum of observations by number of observations, or when you say average is 32, you can always take every person's age as 32 and proceed also. Still you will get the same answer. Here? Good. Moving on. Check this out. Remember the concept of median, remember the concept of range and all that, and proceed with this problem. A set of 9 different integers has a range of 35 and a median of 25. What is the greatest possible integer that could be in the set? Now, this is a question of medium difficulty level in GRE. A very common GRE question. A set of 9 different integers has a range of 35 and a median of 25. What is the greatest possible integer that could be in the set? Think about it and tell me the answer. Anybody? Aditya, Muhilan, Hasan, Ramina, Priya. Muhilan says 60. Let's see. Think about the concept of median and concept of range and proceed, and read the question properly. What is the greatest possible integer that could be in the set? Remember that? Ramina says 60. Okay. So how did you approach this problem, Mohilan? Rishi Wadhwani says 60. Okay. The different methods of approaching this problem. I'm just curious how did you all approach this problem? Did you all understand that there should be Neeraj Pandit says 57? Anybody else with any other answer? I'll just wait for a few more seconds for people to answer. 8 minus 1 to 60. Let's come back to that, Mohilan. Yeah. Right. Okay, fine. So the answer is actually 56. Let me explain to you this problem. Set of 9 different integers has a median of 25. So there are like odd number of elements here, right? So which means 25 is the middlemost value. That is the meaning of median. That's going to divide that data set into 2 equal halves, which means less than 25, there will be 4 values, and greater than 25, there will be 4 values. Remember that all the 9 integers are different. That is one very important rule. Very important, common mistake the students do is they'll replace that with same values and proceed, which is not the case here. Second thing is the range has to be 35, that is given to you. What is the greatest possible integer that could be in the set? So greatest possible integer, assume that it's sorted data set. So when we deal with certain questions like this, right, we always assume something. There is an underlying assumption we make. We don't take a random data set. We assume that the data set is sorted. Therefore, the median is the middlemost value, which is 25. There'll be like 4 numbers less than 25, 4 numbers greater than 25. Now, the 4 numbers that are greater than 25, you are looking at the greatest possible integer that could be in the set. Obviously, since the data set is sorted, the last element in the data has to be the greatest element. That much we know, right? And we know that the range is 35. How greater can you make the last element so that the range is 35? That is how you need to look at. So these kinds of questions, you will always proceed in this angle. Try to maximize the second half of the data set. The first half will automatically fall in place because of the value of the range that is given. Second half of the data set, what are the possible, first half of the data set, if you look at it, it could be like 21, 22, 23, 24. To get the maximum value in the last element, right? First part of the data set, you need to minimize it as low as possible. Clear? That is one rule. How low can it go for the maximum value to be there in the 56? So I want the maximum value there. That is, the range is 35. The last element has to be the maximum value. How low can you make the minimum value, that is the least value or the first element in the data set, so that the last element is the maximum value? That is the question. So try manipulating with simple numbers. Start with consecutive numbers like this: 21, 22, 23, 24. If you look at this 21, 22, 23, 24, then this is 25. Since the range is 35, it has to be 21 plus 35, which is 56, right? Directly you will get the answer. But suppose you feel that maybe I could take a little more lesser value. Maybe I could take a 18 here. If you add 35 to 18, the value you get here would be, what is the value that you get? You will get 53, right? So that will not be greater than 56. It has to be lesser than 56. So the maximum value that you can get here is 56, which is obtained by taking this number as 21. That is the least possible value when you have consecutive integers. Only in that case, the last value becomes the maximum value. Clear? So the first step here is try to minimize this possible to get a maximum value in the last element. How do you minimize it? First step is identify the consecutive numbers. Block them with consecutive numbers. Now look at the least number. Check if you can lower it so that the range, with the range of 35, you get a highest possible number. With the 21, I get the highest number as 56. But if I make it lesser, make it 20, right? Then the last number will be 55, which is lesser than 56. But I need this to be the greatest possible integer. So this is how I will get, this is the only way I can get the greatest possible integer, given that the set of 9 integers are different. Clear? Understood? I hope I'm clear in this, right? Guys, did you understand? If you have understood, just put an S here, the chat box. We'll move on to the next problem. A very, very important problem, problem of medium difficulty level. This is how you will approach this problem. So there'll be like several questions on find the maximum value, find the minimum value. Now, there could also be questions like a set of integers, that's all. Where this different integers, this word different might not be given to you. In that case, you're free to take all the integers as same, right? 25 means you could take all the numbers 25, 25, and sorry, 25, 25, 25 here and try to maximize this. That'll be even more interesting for you to do that. Okay, so remember that they're all different integers, so it becomes easier for us to solve this problem. Clear? Okay, very good. If to the set of observations a new number 15 is added, then which of the following would change? A straightforward question. Basic question. Can you all answer it? I'll give you just 1 minute of your time you will take to answer this. A new number 15 is added. See the data set and you immediately will get the answer. Which of the following would change? You understand the meaning of median, you know the meaning of mode, you know the meaning of arithmetic mean, you know the meaning of range now. Okay. The mode will change. Okay. Mohammed, just look at it again and tell me if the mode is going to change. You are adding a new number 15 to it. Median is changing. That's what Kuli says. Samad says mean is changing. Okay. Let me say select all that apply. So remember that it's a multiple answer question. Select all that apply. None of you. C, E, F. Mean, standard deviation, and variance would change. That's what Sudhindra says. Very good. Okay. So now let's look at this problem. 15 is added, then which of the following would change? If you look at it, 8, 9, 11, this is a sorted data set, right? So 15 would be added before 18. So the number of, already the mode is 15. Now when you add one more 15, the mode will still remain the same. Clear? So the mode is not going to change. How about the median? Median of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then 11th element is added. When 10 elements are there, the median has to be the average of the middle two elements. That will be the fourth and fifth. 26 divided by 2, which is 13. But then when you add 15, right, the median becomes, there will be 11 elements. So the median has to be the sixth element. That will be the 14. So the median will definitely change. Remember that. Median here will definitely change because the number of observations now becomes 11 instead of 10. When the number of observations are even, the median is the average of the middle two values. When the number of observations is odd, it will exactly the middlemost value. So it will be one of the elements in the data set, obviously. So median will definitely change. Now, how about range? Range is unaffected because the maximum value still remains as 18. The minimum value still remains as 18. That will not change. Mean, of course, mean will change because you are adding a new element to the data set. So median A will change. C, mean will change. Since mean changes, standard deviation is how much the data set is deviated from the mean. Since mean is undergoing a change, definitely standard deviation will change. Variance is nothing but square of standard deviation. That will also definitely change. The answer has to be A, C, E, and F. Mohilan, you have got the right answer. Okay, standard deviation, variance will change. Median unchanged for this 14. But then when you add one more element, it does change. And then everything else changes. This is a very, very simple question. If the median of x consecutive integers is 50.5, which is the smallest integer among the following? Anybody else? It's a very, very simple question. Median of x consecutive integers 50.5. What is the smallest integer among the following? Just think differently. See, rather than thinking in the same manner, right? Think a little, very, very simple problem. 1 second, you will answer it. I'll just give you a clue. Without that information also, just by looking at it, you can get the answer. A, B, C, D, E. Anybody? Mohilan says B. Okay. Sudhindra says C. Mohilan, what is the premise on which you're saying it has to be B? Kolli Sai Pooja says B. Why do you say it's B? Triya says B. Interesting. So why do you say it's as B, Triya? Can somebody post it? Why are you saying it's B? It has to be B. Hasan says it's D. It's C, or Mohilan says it's C. Okay. Okay. So let me ask you this question. Median of X consecutive integers is 50.5. What do you think is the parity of X? I mean, is it an odd number or even number? What should X be? Should it be an odd number or even number? Mohilan says yay. Okay, let's see. Should X be an odd number or even number? Just answer my question. The median of X consecutive even number. Very good, Sutindra. So X has to be an even number because when you have consecutive integers, right, only when there are even number of elements in a data set, the median is the average of the middlemost value. But if it's an odd number, one of the elements itself will be the median. For example, suppose I have, say, 49, 50, and 51. 1 second. Yeah, 3, I'm just explaining it now. 49, 50, and 51. Suppose I have 3 elements. Assume that the number of elements in this data set is odd. 49, 50, 51 is an odd number of elements, right? In that case, the middlemost value has to be one of the elements in the data set. So it has to be an integer, right? If the number of elements is odd, then the middle value, the median, has to be an integer because you're looking at a data set with integers. But here, this 50.5 gives you a clue that X has to be an even number. That is, the number of elements in the data set has to be an even number because the median is a decimal. It is not an integer, it is a decimal. Please look at that, and that will give you a clue that X has to be an even number. Clear? Hasan, am I clear now? If it has been odd number, then the median has to be one of the elements in the data set. It has to be an integer, right? If it is an odd number, the number of elements in the data set, if it's an odd number, suppose you have 3 elements in the data set, suppose you have 5 consecutive integers, suppose you have 7 consecutive integers, then the middlemost value will be an integer, will be one of the elements in the data set. But here I have, it's given that the median is a decimal. This clearly shows that X has to be an even number. When X is an even number, you could pick any even number that you want to. Now tell me which one will be the right answer. Mohilan, would you want to change your answer? Anybody else? Anybody? Sudhindra still says yay. Okay, let's take an example here. Suppose I have X to be 4. Let's suppose you have 4 consecutive integers. Then 51 minus 2 will be, what is 50.5 minus 2? 50 minus 2. The question is, which is the smallest integer among A, B, C, D, E? So which one will be this? 51 minus 2 is that smallest, or 50.5 minus 2 is that smallest, or 50 minus 2 is that smallest, 49.5 minus 2 is that smallest, or 49 minus 2 is that smallest? That is a question now. Did you all understand the question? Samarth is saying, why not E? Yes. E is the right answer. Directly, right? Without E, you can take 50 and 51, okay? 2 elements you're taking, okay? Still, which one is the smallest? 2 by 2 is 1. So 51 minus, out of A, B, C, D, E, obviously 49 minus X by 2 has to be the smallest element. You don't have to even calculate it. X by 2 is an integer, that much you know. That's all you know, right? It is not a negative number or anything. So directly E is the right answer. Clear? I hope you will agree now, Mohilan, and all those people who had mentioned A as the right answer. Right? Take 50 and 51. Yes, Mohilan, you will get your answer as 50.5. Still, it is E. You can substitute and check, Sanjana. Suppose you can take any value for X. Take any X to be any even number. X is the number of elements in the data set. You can substitute some elements and check. Why not? Smallest integer among the following. Why is it not true? 50, 51, 52, right? Out of all these, which one is the smallest integer? Okay, think about it, and you could do this as homework, and maybe you could type your answer and send it across to the number that will be shared at the end of the webinar. I'll have 2 more questions to share, and then I'll have this rules for statistics also, rules to remember and stuff. Sudhindra, you can think about it. Think about it and give me the answer. I think it's A. 49, 50. Suppose you have just 4 elements in the data set. Okay, 50.5 is the median. Yes, it is the median. Out of the elements that is given, the numbers that is given there, the numbers are talking, the options by talking only about 49 minus x by 2, 50 minus, it is not talking about the smallest integer in that data set. Please look at the question properly. It is not talking about the smallest integer in the data set. It is talking about the smallest integer among this following. Clear? Very, very simple question. Do you understand, Sudhindra? It's talking about which is the smallest integer among the following. That's all. Plain question. It is not talking about the smallest integer in the data set. Okay. Thank you. So see, this is a very, very simple, straightforward question. Look at the trap that's being laid here. Very, very simple question, right? You just have to look at this A, B, C, D and give your answer. That's all. Only thing you need to clarify here is x is a positive number and x by 2, it's not decimal. Even otherwise, if it's as long as it's a positive number, we are safe. See, x is, okay. Rishi Vadvan is asking me, so x is a set of, it's not even tricky, Mohammed. It's just that you need to think plainly. See, we are all so used to thinking in a complicated manner, right? Whenever it comes to math, don't do that. GRE tests you on only the basic, simple questions. Think as if you are introduced to that concept first time. It is not about your, mathematical, it's more about your thinking skills rather than about your mathematical ability here. It doesn't involve any calculation at all. So for Rishi, median of x consecutiveness is 50.5, right? That's all is given to you. So from this, you know that x has to be an even number. That much I hope you understood. Only if there is an even number of elements in the data set, the middlemost value will be a decimal. Now the question says, you could take any value for x. You could take 2, 4, 6, 8. Take any value for x. Which is the smallest integer among the following? Among A, B, C, D, E, whatever be the value of x, which one will be the following? Clear? That is the question. You could take that. Yes, x is an even number. Therefore, that makes x by 2 also to be an integer. So it's a very, very common trap that students fall for. They normally think that you're looking at the smallest integer among the data set that you're looking for. That's not the case here. The question is asking which is the smallest integer among this following? A, B, C, D. Clear? Okay, good. Now we just have 5 minutes of time. I would want to reserve that for question and answer session. Shall we go to that? Because I'm sure that you guys will have a lot of questions on GRE enhancements or something. And we have lots of these types of problems. Mohilan, expect such ambiguous questions in the exam. Mohilan, GRE is all about some ambiguous questions like this. This is a very, very typical GRE question. Very simple, straightforward question. And students have gone wrong and lost marks because of this. They had assumed that the question is which is the smallest integer. They play around with the words here. Among these following, which is the smallest integer? Clear? Okay. Very common. This is a very common question in GRE. Let me tell you that. There will be some questions which you feel at the time of when writing the exam, even after writing it, like students you have this facility in GRE where you can question your, you will get a review of your answers, right? You can get your score reports and all that, where the number of questions you've got incorrect and all that. This PPT will be shared with you, Sanjana. Yes, the marketing team will share the PPT with you.